All right, we're recording.
Wowza.
Hi. I think it's been 2 months
since a while
since we recorded part 4 because we recorded another episode
in your apartment.
Yes, we recorded another episode in my apartment.
We are back in Lindsay's closet.
But now we're back in Lindsay's closet, and we're back in a space where we can really talk about white supremacy. You know what I mean? It didn't feel a pro to talk about white supremacy in my bedroom
just
because
like you have a roommate and they could have heard us and like all that stuff.
I don't know. It's just because it's ritual.
It is ritual.
It's ritual to be in very close container with you.
We're very close always, and we're in my closet. Like
that's why this feels more appropriate.
Okay, I understand now. Yeah.
So we're back in your closet, and we are coming at you with part 5, which I think we've decided is going to be the final part of the You're Waking Up to Your White Privilege Now What series. Not to say we won't do any other series in the future
regarding
about whiteness or white supremacy, but this episode, what we're going to bring to the table feels like a good ending.
It does. It feels like a very good way of just like kind of
wrapping the series up.
To make it, 5 solid episodes regarding some really rich, quality, important conversations around huge topics that are just like of the utmost importance.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Thais Sky. Welcome to Reclaim, a podcast for women by women on conversations that matter. We need to back up just a second. I think this is something that we've said at every episode, but we have to keep iterating it. We are 2 white women. We are not racial justice educators or anti-racism educators. We're not educators in any sort when it comes to social justice. The point of this series is for us to just share what we've learned on our own journey of waking up to your white privilege. And we hope that our stories and our anecdotes and the things that we're exploring helps you awaken to your journey of waking up to your whiteness. And this isn't just about whiteness. This is about really any marginalized identity that we don't understand because we don't carry. So it could be racial identity, sexual identity, gender identity. You know, it can be body identity or how your body looks. Anything I think this applies to. But we are talking about it specifically in the context of white supremacy today.
Yeah. Interesting. This has been on my mind a lot because today's Friday?
Yeah, today's Friday.
Like, what day is it again? Today's Friday. On Wednesday night, there was a talk at our school that I went to.
Oh, you actually went?
I did go.
Wow, you're so impressive. It's like dark
Sometimes.
And it's cold, and you're like, I'm going to go.
Every once in a while, I really turn it out.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
I'm a super functioning human.
Yeah,
Well, it's getting so dark here. Like 5:30, it's so dark.
So dark.
It's so upsetting.
Yeah, no, it really is.
This is going to be a total side tangent, but like on the ballot, do you remember that it was up for a vote on whether or not California should ixnay daylight savings time?
Oh yeah, no, we're really going on a tangent with this.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Well, because we were talking about how dark it is.
No, I got it. I just didn't know where you were, how tangenty you were going.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
No, you're really going there.
So it was funny because I have an absentee ballot, and you vote the same way, right?
Yeah.
And
mail-in ballot,
and I remember reading it and reading the pros and cons for each in my little book that I got before, prior, so I could prep, and it being for the con, children will go to school in the dark, and I'm thinking but what about them coming home after school and being able to play in the light for at least an hour or so afterwards.
Yeah.
And
it's this whole daylight saving things. It made sense at the time, which was about factory time and work and capitalism and productivity. But now it's we have electricity, people.
Well, yeah, but also isn't it also something to do with allowing us to stay on the Gregorian calendar?
No.
No?
No. Because that doesn't make sense. Because we're moving forward and we're moving back in the same year.
I don't know. Who knows?
All I'm saying is daylight savings is shit.
Anyways, yeah.
I'm over it.
I agree. I'm with you. Okay.
Back up to white supremacy.
Wait, is this where I say I digress.
Yes.
Okay, I never know when to use that.
Now you say it. You
Okay.
say it. So
I
now,
digress.
Okay. So you were on your way. You went to.
So I went to this talk, and it was specifically around the marginalization of shame with eating disorders in marginalized communities.
Okay. So the shame of eating disorders in marginalized communities.
Yes. And so it was interesting because it was a husband and wife team who came to speak, and they founded Reasons Eating Disorder Center, which is based here in LA. And but they are based in Brooklyn, I think. I think they're opening another one out there or something. I'm not really sure. So the husband, who is identifies as a person of color.
Yeah.
He is both of Asian and Korean American background.
Yep.
He is an immigrant, but grew up in Chicago, and moved here when he was very young.
Yep.
And he had the most poignant example of a microaggression.
Oh.
Masked in a compliment.
Oh.
And it's really stuck to me.
Yeah.
So him and his wife just had a baby.
Yeah.
And he's 13 months old.
Yeah.
So cute. He was actually there at the talk. And so his wife is a white woman.
Yes.
So his son has very striking eyes.
Mm.
However, he has seen over and over and over again people compliment his eyes.
Yeah.
Because his eyes are big and round.
Mm.
And basically non-Asian or non-Korean.
Yeah.
And as I listened to him speak about this, and he said, I know that every single person who's saying it is giving him a compliment and celebrating something about him. However, the underlying messaging that he's receiving is, my eyes don't look like my father's, therefore I am better.
Yeah.
And what does that say to him about his lineage?
Sure.
And his, a part of who he is.
Yeah.
And I literally get chills, recollecting it, because it was just, I felt like it was just so, when certain things, they just hit you and you just really are like, wah, wah, lights, hello, flashing. And I think it was just a really good thing to remember, that for context of even when we are saying something that we think is a compliment, is it coming through the white gaze?
Yes. And so much of it is coming through the white gaze. I mean, anytime somebody asks, oh, where are you from?
Yeah.
It's like, why are you asking me that? Not me personally, I'm just saying in general.
Or what are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're a what now?
Yeah.
Well, you're a human being.
Right.
And I've been, obviously in doing this work, I've been so much more cognizant of these things
Me
and
too.
these comments. And I remember being at dinner a couple months ago, and the person that I was with, was chatting with one of the busboys.
Yeah.
And, I can't remember exactly, I can't remember all the details. There was a lot of wine.
There was a lot of wine.
There was a lot of wine. However, I remember the person that I was with saying, oh, where are you from?
Mm.
And I kind of gave them a nudge under the table and looked at them like, why would you ask that?
Yeah.
Just because they're not white?
Right.
And the guy looked at us and he goes, I'm from here.
Right.
And the person that I was with was like, oh, well, what I meant was where's your family from?
Right.
And he was like, well, my distant family is from XYZ, whatever he said, you know?
I had...
And again, microaggression.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sure, it could be out of curiosity.
Well, and it could be out of a desire to relate. If you hear someone having an accent, I mean,
Right.
I love, hearing where people are from based on their accent. And sometimes the accent sounds familiar and I want to know, are you Brazilian? Like I was getting a cup of coffee and the guy had a really thick accent. And I was like, oh my God, I think that's a Brazilian accent. And so I asked him, where are you from? He goes, oh, I'm Brazilian. And I was like, me too. And then we got to speak in Portuguese. So like, that's cool and great.
Yeah.
We just need to be cognizant of like, why are we really asking?
Well, exactly.
Is it because we feel like they aren't from here?
Yeah.
And, what does that mean?
Precisely.
Yeah. So anyway, that's also another digression because that's not even the point of this episode.
However, but how do you then come back and
nice.
recognize that and then apologize?
Looping right back around.
Because that's what this episode is really about, right?
Yes.
Recognizing,
yes.
apologizing, recognizing all the microaggressions from how we backtrack and actually not own and take responsibility and actually learn and integrate and then apologize.
Absolutely.
And apologize in a sincere way.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about. Let's talk about apologies. Let's talk about, all right, we fucked up. We're white people. We're learning, and that means that we will inevitably fuck up. That is an inevitable part of this journey. You will fuck up. You will fuck up to people that you love. You will fuck up to people, strangers. You are going to fuck up, period. End of story.
Because we're human.
And we're learning and we're undoing like centuries, of programming from our society. And like we have a responsibility to do that. And we also have a responsibility to be really compassionate with ourselves on the journey.
And it's very hard to deconstruct everything that we've been conditioned to think our entire lives.
Yeah.
And not see.
Right.
So it is so hard.
Well, and then I see a lot of us white women then not do anything at all.
Well, right, because it's like, oh, this is too hard, and they get frustrated too. Well, clearly I can do nothing right.
Right. Or like, I don't want to say anything at all because I'm scared that I'm going to offend somebody. Like,
right.
I'm just going to be in my corner until I learn everything I need to learn before I speak up.
And that's tough. That's not, I don't think that's great either,
No,
because then you're not
still
taking action.
You're still prioritizing your feelings over Black lives, right? You're still saying that your comfortability is more important than the life of somebody else. And I say comfortability because it's just comfort. It's not you're not risking anything when you get uncomfortable.
And if you really think about it, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like when you look around at all your comforts in life, right?
Yeah.
At what expense did those comforts come? Whether it's where it was manufactured and who made it.
Yeah.
Like, do we even think about these things? We don't on a regular basis because it's so painful to think to go there.
Yeah.
And to like suffer in that discomfort.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the work of honestly being human.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So, apologizing or learning when you went wrong is an important conversation because we mess up all the time. And let's step out of the context of white supremacy. We mess up in relationshiping all the time.
Like daily.
I was listening to Esther Perel's podcast, Where Should We Begin? Because I'm obsessed.
Finally.
I'm obsessed with her podcast.
Finally.
I know. I'm finally getting on the Esther Perel train.
I told you about her when.
So many people have.
So long
So
ago.
many people have. And she was talking to a woman who was like, adamant that she was listening, adamant that she was right. And Esther kept saying, you can be right or you can be married. And I think we've heard that oftentimes. You can be right or you can be in this relationship.
Oprah says it all the time, right?
Sure.
I can be right or be happy.
Yeah. But like in order for you to be happy, you have to be wrong. Or you have to just let go that wrongness.
That control.
Yeah.
That desire to be perfect.
Perceived perfectly.
Yeah.
So, learning how to apologize, learning how to put our tail between our legs isn't just a trait in the conversation of white supremacy. It's a trait that we need to be carrying into any relationship that we have.
And I think the goal ultimately is, at least the goal for me ultimately is to start being able to identify when I fucked up.
Yeah.
Like on my own.
Yeah.
Right? To have that enough introspection to be like, shit, that wasn't right.
Yeah.
And also, I think another goal, which I think I've done a lot of work on, and I think I'm much better now, although there's always room to grow, right? Is that when someone tells me and gives me feedback and shares with me, hey, you might have fucked up here, for me to automatically not get defensive.
Yeah.
And automatically not to react.
Yes.
To step back, to breathe, to really take a moment. And if it's, even if it's like, you know, thank you, I appreciate you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a minute to like process it and,
Yes.
and really sit with it, instead of being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And not even realizing what I'm apologizing for.
Yes.
Because then where's the learning? Where's the integration?
Yeah. Yeah. We're just sometimes so quick to then want to apologize because...
To make it better.
To make it better. And in this context of white supremacy, to maintain the good girl.
Yeah.
So I see this a lot. Like
good racist.
Good.
You
Yeah.
gotta be the good racist.
Mm-hmm. So like you fucked up, somebody calls you out, and then you immediately you just jumped so quickly into the apology because you want to maintain this idea of, oh my God, I'm a good person, I'm a good person, I'm a good person, I'm a good person. Without really stepping back, thinking, okay, what happened here?
Yeah.
You know, am I really in the wrong? Okay, maybe I don't feel like I'm in the wrong, but someone is telling me I'm in the wrong. Do I need more feedback? Do I need to have more conversations with people? Like, so you can learn from this experience.
Do I need more time to just sit and metabolize
and
what
be
exactly
in the discomfort?
Is,
yeah, before I apologize. I think that's important.
And also, I think it can be twofold too. It can be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that what I've done has hurt you.
Yeah,
because I think most of the time that's actually really genuine, right?
Yeah.
I really appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I need to sit with this to really metabolize it and make sure I understand so that I can integrate moving forward and
do
not
better.
do the same thing
Exactly.
again. I don't want to ever do this to you or anyone else because I don't want to inflict this type of pain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way of addressing it in the moment instead of just ghosting or running out. You know, saying I'm so sorry for hurting your feelings.
Yeah.
I need to take a moment and sit with this so I can decide how to move forward better. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how we didn't really like outline this too much, but should we talk about, because we've got two different kind of like outlines to discuss. We have kind of like all of the common patterns that kind of like hide and confuse.
Yeah, let's do that first.
That's what I think, yeah.
Let's talk about how not to apologize, and then we can talk about, okay, so how to apologize.
So this is something that we came across last quarter in our ethics.
Yep, ethics class. And it's really common language. It's common language patterns that hide, confuse ethical issues. Yeah. And when we read this chapter and we were taking notes and then we were discussing it because we're such good students and that's what we do. Yeah. We realized, wow, all of these things are so common and happen during people's attempts to either apologize or not apologize and backpedal and try to get themselves out of apologizing. Right. So these are really, there's a bunch of them. So first off, I'm going to be reading from the book and Lindsay's going to be reading from her notes, but I want to set it up that we, each example has, or each instance has an example, and the example is of this guy, Jack. Okay, so Jack is a hypothetical therapist.
And he fucks up.
He did something unethical, was caught and disciplined. He knows what he did was wrong, is sorry, and wants to make a public statement to take responsibility and apologize. So this is what Jack did. So Jack stole therapy records of the clinic's famous clients, altered them to make it look as if the clients had described lurid sexual activity to their therapist, and then sold the records to tabloids. Okay, so this is what bad Jack did.
Jesus, Jack.
And so we're going to break down his apology, and we're going to talk about why it's
fucked up.
Why it's still not a real apology. So this is what he wrote. He says.
So is this the first?
This is even before that.
Okay, that's even before.
He said, in his public statement, Jack said, I stole the patient files, added some lies to them, and sold them. I have no excuses or explanations. I am solely responsible. I knew it was wrong and it would hurt innocent people who trusted the clinic, and I did it anyway because I wanted the money. I apologize to everyone, especially to those whom I've hurt. I will do whatever I can to try to make things right.
Okay, so now we're going to go into the different language patterns that kind of hide and confuse people.
Yes.
So the first is substitute general for specific.
Yes. So in this pattern, both the specific individual and the specific act disappear. A description of a general category of acts and a vague reference to the third person replace or hide the specifics. Jack might say, I believe that everyone knows that taking a patient's file without the patient's permission and using it for some purpose for which it was not intended is wrong. Anyone who does something like that is out of line.
So that's basically taking yourself kind of out of it as much as possible, separating yourself from the act that you did, the problem, the harm you inflicted.
Right. So it's like saying, white women are the worst. Mm-hmm. You know, white women shouldn't speak up, shouldn't speak for people of color. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, that's great and true, but apologies need to be specific to you. I spoke up. You know, I spoke for a person of color. I did that. We really want to...
And I should not have done this.
We need to personalize. We need to make it specific to the instance to make sure that we are clear on what we're apologizing for and that people are clear. So as specific as possible. If your partner is coming to you saying, you know, you hurt my feelings when you did this, then your apology is, I am so sorry for doing that. I can see how anyone who does that, you know, would hurt your feelings.
No, because that's, again, not taking full responsibility for your impact.
Exactly.
The impact that you made, regardless of intentions.
Yes.
It's the action you took that caused a specific impact.
You know, ever since we've learned about intent and impact, I see it everywhere, how often people use intent as a way to mask what they've done.
So I don't know if I've ever said this before, but there's someone that came into my life, you know, many, many years ago and has been a big part of my life for a long time, extended family. And they always do this. And when I first noticed it and realized what was happening, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? That is so fucked up. It's so manipulative. So anytime this person would do something that hurt somebody's feelings, right? Yeah. It didn't matter what it was. Yeah. Their initial response was, and I shit you not, I'm like quoting here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe that you would think that I would intentionally do something like that to hurt you.
Oh my gosh. Just listening to you, I'm in pain. Thais is in pain.
And I'm talking verbatim.
Right. So that's like, so there's so many things wrong with that. I mean, first off, then you're gaslighting the person.
Exactly.
So now the person is like questioning whether, you know, that they really were hurt, their feelings really were hurt.
And we already have enough happening in this lifetime, in this world, that makes us question our self-trust.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't need someone else, someone who, quote unquote, loves us and cares for us so much, adding and contributing to that distance.
Yeah. Oof. Oh,
brutal, right?
That is brutal.
Brutal.
Okay, so... substitute the general for the specific. The lesson to learn here is to be specific in your apology and use I statements.
So, Thais,
own your apology.
I am sorry.
Right.
That I hurt you.
In that way.
By stealing your lunch.
Yes.
That was wrong.
Yeah.
You were hungry, and I am so sorry I did that to you.
And the reason why I think it's important as white women that we really are specific is because then it shows us and the other person that we really get what's happening. We really get what we're apologizing for. Because oftentimes, again, we're so quick to want to apologize that we don't even recognize maybe like what exactly we're apologizing for, like how exactly we fucked up. And so this is an important invitation to like actually, you know, integrating and knowing exactly how you fucked up is important.
Like, I feel like a good example is, especially with the holidays coming up, right?
Right.
There's always the fucking person in the family that makes the racial joke.
Right.
With the racial undertone.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a new day this would be if you called them out in whatever way, loving, not loving, who cares, but you brought it to their attention that was inappropriate.
Yeah.
And they turned to you and said, wow, I'm so sorry that I made
oh my God, that would be revolutionary.
Terrible joke with gross racial undertones.
Yeah, but of course, that's not what's going to happen.
No.
But what's really going to happen is they're going to be like, lighten up. It's not a big deal.
It was just a joke.
It was just a joke. Right. To which we, as white women who are doing the work, would say, I don't care what your intention was.
It's the impact.
It's not okay with me.
And you're, by making a joke and making light of such a horrendous situation, you are upholding this structure of white supremacy.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not go all... it really depends on the setting.
Listen.
But if you can go there, go there.
That's... Because ultimately, isn't that what it is?
I mean, no, 100% it is what it is. Yeah. We just also want to make sure that we're reaching people.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I have a lot of feelings, I know.
Because that could get people even more defensive, because now you're calling them flat out racist. And we know that we're racist as white people, and we have no problem saying I'm racist as a white person. Yeah, I uphold white supremacy because I'm white, and like I'm actively dismantling it.
I mean, and like everybody has to take the pulse, right?
Yeah.
But I would think that you might be able to say, I know it's probably really hard, and you're probably not aware, because I certainly wasn't until recently.
We go.
However, when we make jokes like that, we actually uphold the systems of white supremacy, which we're really all trying to break.
There we go. Boom. You're relating it to yourself. You're sharing a little bit, sharing a dash of vulnerability. You're saying it's a we statement. Yes, she's winking at me. Yeah. I know. I think we all...
I know. I've been in a lot of these situations, I guess, over the last year or two. So I feel like I'm getting better at like taking the pulse. Yeah. Understanding how to be heard maybe more.
Yeah. And that's a side tangent to this conversation, but an important one, which is
I agree.
We are entering the holiday season, and it is important that as white women, white people, that we're collecting our families, that we're not allowing the jokes and the things and the expense of other people to happen around us, because we're responsible for that. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of us in LA, we are progressive and we are quote unquote good white women, but our families are from the Midwest, and our families all voted for Trump, and our families are, don't understand, they don't speak the same language. You don't have the same views as us. And so I imagine that it's really hard to try to engage, try to have this conversation. So I don't want to minimize the fact that, it is going to feel uncomfortable. But at the same time, to whatever extent we need to be having these conversations.
Absolutely. I agree. Hi, Miko.
Someone's trying to get into the closet here.
Miko's trying to come into the closet. Come on, bud.
He's like, nope. Wait, do I?
He's like,
he's being a cat right now.
He is. He's like, I'm just going to stand here.
In the middle of the doorway.
And like, look at you and stare at you.
Oh, in, out, in,
Come
out.
on, buddy.
Oh my God.
Aw, Miko.
Hi. Miko, do you need to have conversations about white supremacy to your family?
Absolutely. Me and him chat all the time about it.
Yeah.
He knows.
And even if our families are progressive, liberals are not...
Sometimes are
worse. Yeah, they're not off the hook just because
they're the ones that go, I can't believe you would think that I would intentionally do that.
100%.
And therefore never taking responsibility.
We gotta reach people where they're at, number one. So, use their language, speak in a way that they understand instead of, kind of bulldoze your narrative onto them, because if they're coming from a completely different understanding and background of who they are, they're not going to understand you calling them a racist and saying that you're upholding white supremacy. They're just not going to get that language. So you got to find language that works for them. And the reason why that's important is because we don't want to be dropping people. We got to be meeting people where they're at.
Well, and I think that shows a really deep commitment to, like, not only doing the work yourself, but going out and encouraging others to do the work. And let me tell you, it's frustrating and it's hard.
Yeah.
And it takes patience.
Yeah.
And it takes some grit.
Yeah.
And it takes some, like...
But this is our responsibility. I honestly think that, like, saying to our grandmother, like, stopping a racist grandma and then slamming the door and leaving, it's going to have limited impact. The most amount that's going to do is going to alienate her further into her understanding of the world, and then you won't be able to engage in any further conversations with her.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I've been working a lot on just, like, slowing down.
Yeah.
And, like, taking many steps back and, like, trying to distance myself from a situation just enough to gain greater perspective.
Yeah.
So that I can not be as reactional. And then just gain, greater clarity, and then come to it with more intention and eloquence, and
things are now dropping around the closet.
Well, I'm like rearranging stuff as Thais is talking. I'm like moving. I like stood up and moved my suitcase so
trying to get Miko comfortable. He has left us, if anyone's curious about the update on the dog.
Yeah, he just comes in, goes out, whatever, after I've moved like half the closet around to accommodate his little self.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think that's really, really important. And I'm glad that we had that little side tangent, because I think it's potent.
We just have to be able to hold the complexity of the person in the room as well. And that is our responsibility as white people, is to be calling people in. And that takes time. That takes patience. It's a lot easier to say, fuck you, and leave.
Yeah, because then it's like, anger is like the best way to take us out of, like, the pain. Yes. Right? It's like, we can just get angry and kind of like, like, and then we don't have to deal with that person.
Right. Like, that person's so racist, I can't even deal with it.
They're one of the bad white people.
Right.
Instead of recognizing, no, that's part of me.
Yeah.
And I see that, and I see their humanness.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm going to fight for them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drop them. Like, I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
I will say that this could sound, without context, very cult-like. Like, we're calling them into the cult. Yeah. We're having patience with them. We're slowly easing them in. We're not dropping. We're not saying, okay, fine, don't join our cult.
This is the good cult.
This is the good cult.
This is the good cult. Maybe that could be a show. The good cult. Oh, Lord.
Okay, let's move back to our second thing.
This second common language pattern that hides and confuses is using a conditional frame for consequences.
So this is when the speaker shifts the focus to the question of whether the acts affected anyone.
This all comes back to the impact.
The apology is made contingent on how others reacted or were affected. For example, if my actions harmed or even just offended anyone, and I can understand how that could happen, I apologize.
So again, you're removing your impact.
Because people are clearly telling you that, like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly there's consequences to your actions that's telling you that it's not okay. But you're saying, well, if for whatever reason, I can imagine it could, but if it did, I apologize. Rather than owning, actually, I harmed and I apologize.
Mm-hmm. And just making it very cut and dry.
Yes. Yep. So that's it for that one.
Okay. So the third one is use denied motivation as misdirection. Very manipulative.
Yeah. So instead of honestly stating the motivation, the speaker seeks self-exoneration by talking about what the motivation was not. Denying an irrelevant charge that no one has made can be an effective rhetorical tactic. The denials are often true. For example, the person who repeatedly embezzles pension funds, uses substandard materials to build high-rises, speeds while drunk, and stresses that he or she never meant to hurt anyone was probably not acting with the intention of making other people suffer. So, example, I can honestly say that at no time during these unfortunate events with the clinic records did I ever intend for anyone to be hurt. So this whole thing is basically saying intention. Like, my intention was not to hurt you, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my intention. But that feels like a shitty-ass apology.
It's the worst,
It's the worst. Yeah, like, it wasn't my intention to hurt you, Lindsay, but I'm sorry that I did.
And it's just like...
Because you're making it be about you.
Yeah, and it erases their lived experience.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, it couldn't have been that bad because I didn't mean it.
Right.
So, again, a little bit of that gaslighting of like, are you sure it hurt your feelings?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm a nice person and we're friends. And like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's like, let's believe people.
Yeah. Well, the worst is when I say, oh, well, I have a black blank, blank, blank.
Oh!
And they, I asked them and it didn't hurt their feelings. So clearly it's because of you.
That's, again, erasure of lived experience. Erasure of...
Black people are not a monolith. You know?
Yeah.
One black person does not speak for the collective of black people.
Absolutely.
Just like I would hope that people know that one white person, Donald Trump, does not speak for me. Right? Yeah. Clearly, we don't want to be saying that Donald Trump speaks for all white people. In the same way, we don't want to be pointing fingers to any black person and saying, oh, well, you speak for the entirety of your community.
Or any marginalized group for that matter.
Any marginalized group.
Like, something as simple as like, and I've seen this on TV shows, right? Where like, like frat guys or something like turn to like, their Asian frat brother and like, oh, well, how do you do it there?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's continually conversations about the N-word and about whether or not white people can use the N-word, right? And then there's some people, it's like, well, my buddies let me say the N-word around them. Like, my black friends allow me to say the N-word with them, so I should be able to say it anywhere. And again, it's like, okay, your black buddies made an exception for you, but, like, in the world that we live in, that word is very derogatory, and it's not to be used. Yeah. So don't fucking use it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get why it's so hard for white people. Because I do get it. It's because we feel like we're entitled to everything.
Take anything and everything. And
colonizer mindset.
Yeah, and so the N-word has always been a hot button for me since I was really young because my stepfather used to use it. And he used to...
A white man.
And he used to demonize the clothing that I would wear sometimes and tell me I looked like a...
Sure.
N-word. So it's always been a huge trigger for me because I always knew from a young age that was so grossly inappropriate.
Yeah.
And and that just goes into a whole nother thing of just about my stepfather in general. I mean, I don't speak to him like...
Very basic.
It's just so fucked up.
If you are not in that marginalized community, do not use words that are derogatory to that marginalized community.
And I don't like, this is what pisses me off, especially about white men. Well, I don't understand. Like, they use it all the time and it's not derogatory, but why is it when I use it, it's derogatory? I'm like, hello?
Yeah.
Like, wow, that just shows me that you have no clue. Like,
it's
you
just
don't
like there's
see whiteness at all.
But then white men go, well, they can call me all these things, but I can't call them all these things. And it's just a complete lack of understanding of power dynamics, which is what...
Power dynamics and our history.
Yes.
Our fucking history.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. So anyway, so like if you are of Roma descent, part of the, Romani culture, and you call yourself a gypsy, you're allowed to do that. That is that's your thingy. But like the rest of us, particularly white women, we are not to be using the word gypsy because that word is inherently derogatory. Same thing with Eskimo. Eskimo is a derogatory term for Inuit people. So we can't be using it. Can Inuit people use it? They can use whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
We can't use it as white people. It's just not very difficult.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Information, that knowledge.
There's so many other, like I can call you, hey bitch, what's going on? You're fine. But like if somebody, somebody else, a white man calls you a bitch, it's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
It's
Again,
just different.
Power dynamics.
It's important for us to know our lane.
Yeah, I agree.
And we're going on some great tangents, though. I'm
all about it.
Because I think this is all really important stuff, and since we're kind of wrapping up this series, it's important to like really continue to reiterate that, like, as white people, we have a lane. Stay in that lane.
Absolutely.
It's not very difficult. Like, you do you know how many millions of words are at disposal? Use another word. Yeah. You know?
I know.
Anyway.
All right. So number 4, use abstract language of technicalities.
The speaker translates people and events into abstractions using the jargon of technicalities. Jack could say, I know that many of you have heard rumors and you deserve to know what happened. I want to fully acknowledge publicly in closing this unfortunate chapter that I did not fulfill all the requirements in the JCAHO manual for handling of charts. There were instances in which I reviewed and added information without following all the bureaucratic specifications for identifying the source of additional material, and I did not always follow the precise procedures for obtaining blah, blah, blah. I can't even.
It's just so much.
So it's just like using
masking. It's using all that jargon and
all that language.
All that abstract thinking and language to just totally mask.
Yeah, it's masking. I love that you use that word. I think that's exactly right. And it's like, it doesn't feel authentic.
And again,
because it's probably not.
Right. And it's also incredibly confusing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, right now we're in grad school, and like the amount of fucking words, like, I'm like, why can't we just say important? Why do we have to use salient?
Right.
What the fuck?
Right.
Can't we just say important? But I think each industry, we see this in industries, they do it to make themselves feel more powerful,
right.
more intellectual,
it's
more
cult 101. It's like you use specific language. Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So we just want to be clear language, clear, simple, direct, specific.
And like, be cognizant of your language when you're using it, like, and especially like, again, taking the pulse of who you're with. Like, if you're going to use all this technical abstract language, is the person that you're communicating with going to understand you? Are they going to grasp what you're saying? Well, if you're trying to apologize to them and they're not in that same industry or in that same, where that language is common, then of course they're not going to grasp.
Yeah.
Of course they're not going to understand, which makes your apology even more disingenuous.
Yes, disingenuous. That's exactly right. And I see this often. I'm so sorry to be calling out all you white men, but I'm not. And I also don't know if any single white man listened to this episode anyway. But like, white men are the worst.
Mansplaining?
But white women can be pretty bad up there too, where you share an article about how something is racist or whatever, and then they'll come into the comments and they will just use these complicated academic words to like make their point about how, and they're basically, it's another form of gaslighting. They're trying to make you feel stupid.
I was literally just thinking that.
They're trying to make you feel stupid. Dumb. So then you're like, fuck,
without
I don't
saying
know.
Like, you're dumb.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. And then you start feeling stupid. And it's
because you don't understand. You're not grasping what they're trying to say. But you're like, oh my God, but it must make sense because look at all these big words that I don't understand.
Exactly.
So clearly I'm just too dumb.
Yes.
To like,
no. Yeah, we need to stop with that. Yeah,
like, come on. Like, it's fine to like exercise your vocabulary, especially if you're studying for the SATs. I don't know. I mean, I never took the SATs. Like,
you're ridiculous.
I don't know. Like, it's fine.
I personally love a nice, juicy SAT word that just slides into a sentence at that perfect moment.
Yeah.
And then, like, you get to say copious at a time when, like, you could have just said a lot and you feel very schmancy and you're like, oh, who am I right now?
I mean, look at me with my I digress. Like,
exactly.
I
so
get
those
excited.
Are fine. But, like, we want to be contextualizing the apology and making sure that, again, specific, clear, direct,
and again,
simple.
I think this is where keep it simple, stupid, really, I mean, there's something to it. It's like, let's use simple, potent language that everyone understands.
Yes. Next.
Okay. Using passive voice.
This is when the speaker disappears. Things are done without reference to who does them. So Jack would say, I know all of you, like me, want to know the results of the extensive no-holds-barred investigation that was conducted in light of recent allegations. I've been authorized to complete to provide you with a complete report of the findings. Regrettably, the investigation confirmed that some files were taken without authorization, were altered, and were provided to those who should not have received them. And he goes on. So, like...
Again, removing yourself.
Yeah, so you're not even in the apology.
Like, literally just taking yourself right out of it.
Yeah.
Like, you're basically talking about somebody else who did it.
Like, I'm pretty sure, you know what we should do?
What?
We should pull up Danielle LaPorte's attempted sad apology that she tried to go for and, like, pick out the patterns of how those... We should do that.
I don't really remember... I don't remember it.
It was because she was launching a course.
I know. I remember why. I remember what happened.
Yeah.
I remember the course. I remember the images that were used.
I don't think I have access to that anymore.
I mean, I'm assuming it's public because it was public on her Facebook page, but it would...
Yeah, it would take a minute. To look that up. Maybe in the future we'll do it.
Honestly, I think, you know, what would be a good one too. So that one, and then another one that comes to mind, which isn't necessarily racial, but it's a good fucked up apology. Tony Robbins regarding the Me Too movement.
Yes.
That was so PR'd.
Yes. Even Marianne Williamson's apology was really bad. And guess who's running for president?
What? How do I not know this?
Yeah.
What?
Yesterday.
What?
She announced it.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Marianne Williamson is running for president.
How? I'm gonna need a minute to metabolize this, so I'll get back to you on what?
Yes, my friend.
I'm not sure how I feel about all of this.
There are a lot of people with a lot of opinions on this. Here's the thing. It's like...
I mean, listen, I think she's way better than what we got now.
Yeah, anything is better than what we got now. Let's be real here. But, like, can we get a little bit pickier? Because I think Marianne Williamson has shown that, like, she's not quite there yet. You know, she couldn't even run a congressional run here in California, which is one of the most progressive... But politics aside, because I don't even know really much about her politics. I wasn't living in California when she
really
ran.
Announced it yesterday that she's like legit running for president. Marianne Williams for president.
Yes, it even said that.
Wow.
But just the harm that she's caused for people of color and the racist views that she refuses to be held accountable for. It's like, can't Alexandra run? Have you been checking out her Instagram stories?
No.
Okay. Alexandra, she's everything to me right now because she's 29 years old. Mm-hmm. She is the youngest member of Congress. And like what Thais would do, like how Thais started in the coaching industry, was to try to make herself appear really big. You know, really knowledgeable. Like, I know everything. Like, hire me because...
With all your big SAT words!
With my big SAT words. And I have to, like, slowly take myself off my own goddamn pedestal and realize I'm actually human and, like, no one needs that and no one likes that. Alexandra is, like, lifetimes wiser than me. She goes into Congress, like, sharing Instagram stories of her entire experience of what this journey looks like for her in a very real way. Like,
I'm going to have to start Insta-stalking her.
OMGs. Like,
I'm not really on social media a ton.
But her Instagram stories are like, she's just real. She's real. Like, instead of trying to conform to the system.
Yeah.
Instead of trying
she's trying to break the system, right? This is how you break it.
Instead of trying to conform and, like, make everything behind closed doors and not communicate and pretend like she's like, this now.
Let's just rip this.
Let's pretend that, like, wide open. I'm this now expert at this.
It's like, no, she's super real, right?
She's
it's just
super
like,
real.
We're rolling, and this is how we're rolling.
She shared how, like, she can't afford rent in DC, and her income doesn't start for, like, another few weeks, and so she has no money, and she's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. She's like, I'm figuring it out. Like, y'all don't have to worry. It's not like she was dumping this, like, I need help. Like, she was like, don't worry, I've got this. But just FYI, the Congress is not made for working class people.
No, it's not. It's made for people.
Government. Who are rich and bored.
Government is made for people.
White people.
literally bred
Yes.
into the system.
Yes, they're rich, white men.
Yes.
And so she's like, this system was not made for working class people like me. And so she doesn't have healthcare until just a few weeks ago. You know, it's just so brilliant how transparent she is with where she's at, because I'm hopeful that what this means is that more and more millennials are going to be demystified by the process, because they now have someone that's in the inside that's showing, and more millennials are going to run, they're going to care, they're going to vote, because they're now seeing someone their age in that journey.
Man, we are really counting on these next generations.
We really are. Look, Alexandra lived 2 floors above me my freshman year in college, and she's doing something so badass. That means all of us can do really badass things. Yeah. We can change the systems. We just have to be in integrity with ourselves, and apologizing is one of the best ways to do that. We cannot mask ourselves and expect authenticity and realness from people and then expect change. Mm-hmm. And as white women, I think we've become really good at masking, good at upholding this white, nice, like, I don't talk about you, passive aggressive bullshit, because one, we have not been taught clear communication. We have not been taught that it's safe to be seen and visible. And we've been coddled. We've been like held as sensitive Sallys, and people of color people of color are tired of having to be the fighters of their own lives.
And everyone else is.
There was this beautiful little meme, and it said, I don't think it said social justice, but I'm going to say it. Social justice, or maybe just being a good human being, is caring about things that don't directly affect you. And that speaks to me. When people that are not in California didn't come visit once and they fell in love, and now this is why they're saying it. But when they like, I'm feeling for people in California because I'm feeling for this earth. And it has nothing to do with the fact that my grandfather was a firefighter and then my mom's father, blah, 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 blah. It's just, this is hurting California, and therefore this is hurting me. That's genuine. But I'm tired of seeing white women after white women after white women only talk about things that directly affects them. They are now suddenly social justice-y oriented because they're talking about themselves. It's like, how...
And they're trying to protect their business or their life or their
self-centered are we? And it's
tough.
And it's because we've been put in this little bubble of fragility.
Well, it's an inability, again, to sit with the discomfort and pain and suffer in the comforts that come at expense of home.
Yes.
And sit with that.
Yes.
It's just like, it's if you take it back, right? I mean, we can all kind of like go in our imagination back in time, right? And think about, the white woman who, may not have taken out, something to beat somebody with, but sat and stood behind, the master, the husband, who did.
I know many people after the midterm elections were still shocked at how white women voted. And, the argument is, can't they see it yet? Like, they need to see it. And my response to that is, just like what you said, white women were standing right behind their men while their men was breaking other people down.
Because
was
how they preserved the comfort. It was at
so
expense
why do you
of
think
another human.
That's going to change now? If they didn't change while they literally watched their partners beat, rape, enslave people, then what makes you think that they're going to be so quick to change over because of a president?
Because had a woman stood up then, right, then what would have happened to her household?
Sure.
She would have had to take care of all the children. She would have had to clean and cook and do all of this stuff.
And she didn't, and honest, also, she didn't have rights.
Yeah.
She couldn't vote. She couldn't own property. She was, in many ways, she was owned by her white partner, by her white man.
Yeah.
So we have power and we don't have power. And I think that's why it's so really hard for us.
It is, because I think it's also like a psychological constraint that we're put in, right? Yes. It's like a vice. It's like we're really in this vice where it's like, it's like this intrapsychic conflict, right?
Of just like, we are both the oppressor and the oppressed. We've been oppressed for thousands of years, and we've been the oppressor for hundreds of years. And navigating that, we carry both of these and trying not to use our victimness of being oppressed for justification for not looking at how we are the oppressor is so important.
And being able to hold both, all of it, right? Of like, yes, I have been oppressed and I still am in many ways. However, I also am the oppressor in many ways. And it's like, can we expand emotionally, intellectually, all of the ways that we need to expand to be able to hold all of that at once? Because we can do it.
We can.
It's painful as fuck.
We can do it.
But we can do it.
We are not being asked anything that we can't do.
Right.
And people have been bearing the burden and doing it for a long time. So, let's take a look at...
Let's go, all you spiritual ladies. This is the time.
Oh, then
we were born for this reason.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Come on.
So, this is also something that I feel a little frustrated by, is when we do say, 53% of white women voted for Trump or whoever the current election cycle is. And then they say, collect your white people, collect your white women. My frustration with that is that I feel like sometimes it takes it out of context a little bit. Like these 53% white women, these white women.
Oh, we were talking about this the other day.
Like we can't just pluck out a white women from the Midwest. We can't just literally pluck it out, be like, stop being racist, and then push them back in and
they have no idea.
Exactly. So I think we just need to understand that there is context that needs to be in play. We can't just expect them to change if their systems and their things don't change. And hold both. We progressives in the city, the best things that we can do is to go back to our families who are in those contexts and influence change.
Yeah. I feel like it's something that I've struggled with ever since I've really started this journey.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people with so many different views on how, we should behave within specifically our families, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, if we have a racist uncle or if we have a racist father or if we have a racist grandmother or whatever it is, right? That we should just cut them out of our lives.
Sure.
And while I see their point, I see their perspective.
Yes.
I also see the perspective that you're talking about too. And I just feel like if we're really going to do the work, shouldn't we have the rigor and the patience to really do it with the hardest of people?
Yes.
Because that's what's ultimately going to change.
Right. It's the white people who are entering these uncomfortable, awful spaces that we should never ask anybody to walk into, particularly people of color, particularly black people, particularly black women. We should never ask them, listen, can you go to, this place? Can you go into these schools? Can you go into and teach these white kids how not to do that? That we can't be asking of them. We've got to do that. And the way we've got to do it is by influencing change in our communities, in our families, encouraging them to influence change in their communities, their families. Teachers, you hold such a beautiful space in the world because you are influencing the next generation. You can be looking at the curriculum and making tweaks in a way that, is acceptable in your education, in the system to teach what Columbus really did. Right?
Let's start exposing more of the truth, right?
I just think that we shouldn't be dropping people. And so I get that these 53% of white women are extremely problematic and they're upholding white supremacy. And because of that, they're causing a lot of damage to our society.
And it's incredibly infuriating.
And
it's incredibly frustrating.
If all white women voted for progressive candidates, the Republican Party would disappear.
Right.
So, it's frustrating because we can see that change.
But let's do the work to get that there.
Let's remember context. Let's remember where they're operating in.
Other white women's work.
Yeah.
You know, to have that patience and emotional rigor to like just keep going back and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, right?
We can't give up on each other, you know? So we got to do that work. And then there's the work that we've talked about in previous episodes of, you know, reparations and supporting people of color and, you know, making sure that we're paying people of color, Black women who are educating us, who are doing this work,
to do this work.
Let's be careful about entering any form of education. You know, why are you educating on racism when you're a white person? Like, there's so many other people of color, Black women who are already doing this work. Mm-hmm. You know, how can we support them? How can we amplify their voices? We've talked about this extensively.
Absolutely.
I think right now what we're really focusing on is, particularly now that we're going back home for the holidays and that a lot of conversations are to be had, we have a real invitation there.
I agree with you 100%. And it's like, you know, so many of us have heard, probably, you know, especially the audience that listens to Reclaim, is like, we've all heard, you know, that like certain people are waiting for you to say it in just the way they need to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And so remember that, right? Remember that, like, just like you know, you can hear it over and over again by someone. And then until you hear it from the specific person who hit you in the specific way. And then all of a sudden everything clicks and like the skies, like the clouds part and the skies open and you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, and it sucks that this is like the human construct and the design of how we are. But again, I always say this, let's not get in a fight with our reality.
Right.
And waste time fighting with the reality of what is.
Yes. My parents are progressive. You know, I grew up extremely liberal because of my dad. Very liberal person. I've seen him cry twice. Once when Bush was elected the first time, the second when Bush was elected the second time. Wow. I wasn't with him when Trump was elected. I imagine there were tears there too. Yeah. So and like very...
When you talk about your dad, you're talking about...
My stepdad.
Right.
Yeah. Who's a white American. Man. Yeah. So, grew up in a very progressive space, right? So, racism doesn't exist there, right?
Colorblind.
So, you know, there's unconscious biases and prejudices and discrimination rampant in both progressive circles, liberals and Republicans.
All of us.
Because we're all
All of us.
What I've done, you know, is you know me, I'm passionate. I go on rants, you know. So when I watch something on the news with them, like I'll just go on my rant. I'm like, these white people, like, do you see how they're saying that and like how they're doing that and like it's not fair. I'm like, look at the people that come, blah 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 blah, and I just go on my rants, and I know that it's slowly starting to sink into them.
See, because you're not giving up.
And you know, I know that there may be a million other ways that could be approaching this, but I've noticed that they're starting to have some shifts and some changes in the ways that they're looking at the world. And that's everything. That I'm not just yelling at them for not getting it, because I wouldn't have wanted someone to yell at me for not getting it. I needed a lot of patient people and a lot of people like continually prodding me, you know? And I think we should do that for other white people. Not coddling. We're not letting bad behavior go. Right. We're not being nice for the sake of being good.
It's a little more nuanced.
It's more nuanced than that. Yeah.
And I think that, you know, you've got to do what feels truly aligned and in integrity.
Yeah.
With
your situation
and your situation.
And exactly.
And you just have to trust that. And that's part of kind of building a thicker skin right around like not really worrying too much about what other people say.
Well, just know that like everyone's gonna think that you're doing it fucked up,
right? And like that might have to be okay if you're trying to play the long game.
Yeah,
you know.
Oof. All right.
Oh Lord. Okay.
We have 2 more.
3 more.
3 more. We have 3 more.
All right.
Okay.
Next up, in the common language patterns that hide and confuse, make unimportant by contrasting with what did not occur.
The speaker anchors the presentation in scenarios of extreme consequences that did not occur. The contrast makes whatever may have happened seem trivial. Oh. We do this all the time.
Well, at least I didn't do this.
Well, is it really harm? Because it was just a statement on Instagram.
Right.
So, like, did it really cause harm? Yes.
It was just words. It's not like I physically attacked anyone.
Right. Yup.
So I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep. Moving on.
Okay. Smother the events in the language of attack.
Assuming that the best defense is a good offense, the speaker avoids responsibility by attacking others. I don't think I've ever seen a white woman do this.
Throw somebody else under the bus.
Whatever the speaker may have done becomes trivial or justifiable. Justifiable in light of the terrible things other people have done. The language of attack stirs up emotional responses. It works against people joining together to examine the facts and their implications, and sets people against each other, dividing them into us, the good people, the unjustly attacked, us white good people. Stop making everything be about race. Stop being so divisive. If you just stop bringing race into everything, then we would just be good to go, right? That's what white women say. And them, the bad people who deserve what we can dish out. The speaker's rhetoric serves to draw listeners into his or her camp and to ridicule or intimidate those who are on the other side. Yes, we do this a lot. We say, stop, if you were just not as so angry, you know, if you just weren't so blah, 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 then like more people would be on your side. And by saying that, what you're saying is, I'm not on your side because the way you're presenting this material to me is not comfortable.
Yeah, I also see this, and this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I don't think we've necessarily talked about it any other time, and it's not going to be in the last one, where someone says something or does something, particularly maybe like a white woman, and it has like a underlying unconscious racial bias, right? And then as like she's getting defensive of it, right, and whatever, and blah blah blah, and then it's almost like I can see it if I am in person.
Yeah.
I can see where there's a glimpse where she maybe is like, oh, and then very quickly, she'll throw off to another topic. She'll be like maybe it's something that happened in the mix, and then she'll start fixating on that to make that more poignant.
Yes.
Than what her actual action and impact had.
Yes.
To derail.
Yes.
It's a derailing.
Yes, derail.
That's what it is.
I think that should be in here. We need to write
I
to
know.
this.
Let's write this person.
Kenneth Pope.
Mr.
Pope.
Do you hear us?
We need derailment in this situation, because I think we do that a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now we're adding to this.
We're adding.
So derailment is another big one.
Talking about derailment, you have a personal jewelry steam cleaner, which is really good to know.
Well, let's not forget that I design fine jewelry.
I'm going to be bringing all my pieces over.
I used to have a jewelry collection.
I'm just observing the things in Lindsay's closet. I'm speaking to the personal jewelry steam cleaner as I'm talking about white women.
It's really good. It cleans. Everything will be shining.
Wow, I'm excited about this opportunity.
We'll clean jewelry one day.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, last one. Ready? Common language patterns that hide, confuse.
Meaning not good ways of apologizing.
Replace intentional unethical behavior or racist behavior with the language of accidents, misfortune, and mistakes.
The speaker fails to mention making a conscious decision to profit by stealing charts, filling them with lies, and selling them to the highest bidder, which would strike most people as unethical. The description makes the speaker a victim of being an imperfect human, of lacking omnipotent? No. Omniscience?
What?
Omniconscience? Wow. This doesn't ever happen. Okay.
Omniscience, I think.
Of lacking. Okay, well, here we go. Ready?
Hey Siri.
Hey Siri. Define omniscience.
Omniscience means the state of knowing everything.
It's omniscience. You did good.
Wow. I'm impressed by myself.
It's the state of knowing everything. Okay.
Wow.
Because omni means everything.
Root of omnipotence, all powerful.
Right.
So there we go. Okay. Look at us go. Look at us grad students go. Thanks, Siri. I can't. this money that we've been shelling out these past 3 quarters are paying off. Woo! All this debt we're accumulating. Yeah.
Oh, I feel so smart already. An infallibility. The speaker pushes the axe into the category of those random, inevitable mistakes that afflict all of us and are beyond our control. At worst, they are a matter of having fumbled, a matter of judgment, although if this construction is examined closely, it seems to assume that almost anyone would have difficulty judging whether stealing charts, inserting bogus material that will hurt patients, and selling them to those who will publish them is ethical. So this is a good one because this is basically saying, like, I didn't know any better.
I mean, it was just a mistake, an honest mistake.
It was an honest mistake.
An honest mistake. Wow. I never really have considered how problematic that phrase is.
Yeah.
An honest mistake.
An honest. What does that mean?
Honest mistake. Whoa. I feel like my mind is really working right now.
Yeah.
Like, what's an honest mistake?
I don't, because you're not taking responsibility for the fact that you made a mistake.
White people must have really thought about that one.
No, they really must have. That is definitely a white person problem. I mean, a white person phrase, a white person thing.
They came up with that shit.
100%.
Oh, it's just an honest mistake. We didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now you do.
Yep. So these are all ways not to apologize and all the ways that, like, we kind of try to apologize. And listen, like, yay, we're learning. Let's do better. Now that you know those things, we can do better, right? And I've been, called out before. And I had someone who listens to the podcast share that, like, she felt that I wasn't talking a lot about the gun violence that happened in a synagogue. And really affect the Pittsburgh shooting. Yeah, the Pittsburgh shooting. And I hadn't really talked much about that on my Instagram stories. And she felt hurt by that. And she identifies herself as Jewish. And she felt like I wasn't considering her and her people. And, listen, like, whenever we receive any form of feedback, it will feel we will get a little defensive. We will feel a little attacked.
It's the nature of the beast.
It's normal because
beast.
the ego works so hard to try to keep us in this perfect thing and try not to make mistakes. So, like, when we get that type of feedback, it's very natural for us to feel some shame and our skin feels hot and, like, we suddenly feel like we're under attack.
And then it's like, how dare you? I'm doing all this great work and I'm trying so hard and I'm such a good person. Like,
so if like you feel so called to respond from that place, write it down, like, somewhere else, like an email to yourself, or like journal it out. You know what I mean? Like, get that out.
As a red flag to slow down. Yes. Wait a minute. Okay, clearly, if I'm wanting to react right away, this is the work, people. This is the internal work of just, like, self-development, right?
Yes, of creating a deeper container where you can be with your uncomfortable emotions so that you're not reacting, but you are able to then respond.
Yeah, you're not reacting from your wound.
Yes. And I talk about this a lot. I know Lindsey talks about this a lot.
It's hard.
It's hard because...
like, am I coming from my wound?
Our biology wants us to take action. It wants us to go to fight, freeze.
Because it's trying to make us survive.
But, like, we're not actually in danger.
Right.
Someone's comment or someone's feedback is not killing you. Literally. It's not.
It's not.
So can you hold space for that? And now let's step into how to apologize.
Yeah. And let's not forget, the feedback is not killing us. However, our lack of receiving the feedback and changing our behavior is killing people.
Yes, exactly.
Let's sit with that discomfort.
Yes.
And own that responsibility.
Right.
Oh.
Yes.
I get real fired up.
All right. Let's go into this next resource that we have.
Okay. So this comes from www.killing-georgina.org.
Okay, I'm sorry. Nope. You're going to have to do that again because you sounded like I can't remember the last time somebody said www. Like, when's the last time that somebody was like, here's a URL, www.
I'm sorry? You don't do that anymore? These days?
No.
What are the kids doing these days?
These days, the kids do not need the www.
Tell me what all the young kids are doing these days.
That was amazing. Like, you really stepped into, like, I'm imagining this, like, 50 years from now. You're like, WWW.
You forget that I'm, 6 years older than
You're
you?
so old.
So old.
So old.
Okay? It's like a different generation. Thais.
WWW.
I just wanted to be really clear. Okay, fine. It's coming from killing-georgina.org. Is that better?
Much better. I will add that into the show notes.
www. dot.
You forgot the HTTP.
Colon, //
.com.
You know. Okay, so these are 5 steps to a sincere apology. Okay, and I might add a step.
Or 10.
Yeah.
Depending on how we're feeling.
Depending on how I'm feeling. So number 1, acknowledge. Example, I know what I did was wrong. Number 2, admit without excuses. Admit to causing harm without using any version of but.
Yeah.
Number 3, explicitly apologize. I am sorry. I apologize. Be sincere.
Yes.
Number 4, commit to change. Example, I will do my best not to do that again. Number 5, keep your word. Do the work to be trustworthy. So this is a really good, simple structure of kind of like the construction of a sincere apology.
Yep.
Now, don't think you could just follow that and not do the inner work, though, because people will feel it. People will be able to know. So, some of like my 1A, like 1B, like little extra added steps.
What are you talking about?
Like extra added steps underneath. Like, what do you call those? Like sub steps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I think that after step 3, after step 3 or 4, right? After saying, I'm sorry, I apologize, and being sincere, and then possibly even, after step 4, I will do my best not to do that again. I think that is then where you say, I so appreciate the feedback. I am going to make sure that I sit with this, that I metabolize this, and then I understand and integrate this into my being so that I will never cause this kind of harm to you or anyone else again.
Yes.
And then you go
Yeah.
and you do the work.
Yeah.
That is step 5, keeping your word. That's the integration of
I
it.
like to say, you know what? Like, I fucked up and I commit to doing better.
Yeah.
I love the I commit to doing better. I love that for myself because that is a commitment I'm making. Not just to them, because I think it's important that we acknowledge, like, I fucked up to you, Lindsey.
Yeah,
like, I'm so sorry, and I commit to doing better by you.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's also, I'm committing to better by me and by all the people. Because, again, you're not a monolith. Like, you are one individual. So I'm apologizing to you because I harmed you. But I also want to make sure I'm not causing harm to anyone else in the community.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, I commit to doing better is also such a great kind of like affirmation for ourselves, right? I commit to doing better. Like, fuck waking up every day and saying I'm grateful. Like, wake up every day and say, I commit to doing better.
Yes.
Like, holy shit, how much better would this world be if we all woke up and said that?
Yep. I know.
I commit to doing better.
I commit to doing better. It diffuses my own defenses as well as the defense I hope of like other people, because when we relate to people at a heart level, it also drops their defense. And listen, when people are harmed and you know they're feeling like you are violating their sovereignty, like they have every right to be defensive and to be closed up. But that, you know, when you drop your defenses first, that says to them, oh, you're seeing my humanity.
Yeah.
And then that allows them, if they feel like they want to, if they feel comfortable with that, maybe they don't, but if they feel comfortable with that, for them to also drop their defense and to see your humanity. Yeah. And then that's like a real connection. That's a real way that we can do right by each other.
Yeah. So when Thais came over this morning and we started chatting about this, and we were digging out my ethics book from last quarter and everything, I said, I've been thinking about apologies a lot this morning, and I've been thinking about, what the shittiest apologies that I've ever received are, and what the best apologies I've ever received for. And I think I've already shared about the shittiest apology that I've ever received.
Yeah,
which is
that
definitely
was really
like,
bad.
I can't believe you would think that I do that intentionally. I mean, just awful, for all the reasons that we discussed. I will say that the most potent apology that I've ever received, I think to this very day, was a person that made an amends to me. They were working through a 12-step program. And this is a person whose behavior, really hurt and did a lot of damage,
Yeah.
and it was unbelievable. It was so sincere. It was so genuine.
Yeah.
They had really taken the time to go back and get very specific.
Yes.
Again, we go back to, not substituting the general for the specific. They got super specific of the times that they really caused extreme harm that they could remember.
That allows you to really understand that their apology is grounded on actual behavior.
Yes.
Versus just, I know I should apologize.
Right.
So I'm just going to apologize.
Exactly. And there was no but.
There's no expectation of you to then do something for them or to forgive them.
It was
by making it be about them.
And it felt that it was so energetically clean. And I don't think I'll ever forget it for the entire time that I'm on this earth. Because it was so powerful, it was so potent, it was so rich, and it was so clean.
Yeah. I think what makes it clean, if I may, because I wasn't there, but I think what probably made it clean is that you felt fully in the middle of their apology. You felt like
I was centered.
You were centered.
I was centered.
I think,
because I should have been, because I was the one that was harmed.
Right.
The impact hit
And
me.
I think the reason why we as white women may have some serious challenges with apologies is because we're so used to being centered. We're so used to being the object of the male gaze. It's kind of like kids are inherently narcissistic, right? And it's a part of their development. And they do get all the attention on them.
And there's healthy narcissistic qualities that we, get through this development.
And then eventually you grow out of that and you start to recognize, oh wait, the world doesn't revolve around me.
Yeah.
But I think because this is actually an interesting thesis, I'm curious to see if this stands to truth, but just something that's coming up for me right now is because we're so used to being at the center of the male gaze, we are used to being objectified, and in many ways that's actually very bad, of course. Objectification is bad. At the same time, we've become used to being at the center of attention.
So it's like we're not only subjective, but also objective.
Yeah.
And it's like, that can be really confusing.
Yes.
Again, coming
we're
back to being
the
oppressed and the oppressor.
Yes,
absolutely.
exactly.
There's this intrapsychic conflict that is so hard to grapple with.
Yes.
And look, here's the bottom line. If we can just start to come to layers of acceptance with that.
Yes.
And just hold it and work with it and keep working with it and keep working with the truth of that.
Yes.
And know that it's a painful truth. It's going to cause so much discomfort. However, it's true.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of lived experiences and history and everything. And I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's a truth. It's like gravity.
Yeah.
It's true, people.
Yeah. 100%.
So
you felt centered in that apology, and I think that if there's can be one takeaway from this is that like all of the things that we shared from the book are ways that you are the center of the apology.
Yes.
You as the
Oh my gosh,
the
absolutely.
oppressor, right? You're putting yourself, you're masking your pain, you're masking your discomfort by then putting yourself in the center of the apology. Whereas where a genuine apology looks like is
Centers the victim.
centers the victim and make sure that the victim is being seen and heard. And we center the victim by not needing to be forgiven. We center so we're giving them sovereignty by saying, this apology isn't about whether or not you forgive me.
Yeah.
Whether or not now you view me as a good white woman.
Nope.
Whether or not like I can get cookies from you now. The apology is, because that's still centering around you.
And a lot of times, honestly, you don't deserve
Sure.
the forgiveness.
Maybe
yet.
not a way, or because there's now
You know?
actions. Now
Right.
we're waiting for the actions to make sure that the actions.
Okay, so you've committed to do better. Will you?
Yes.
It's now we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not to say that you'll never fuck up again.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, the flawed human design.
Yeah.
Right? However, there needs to be a concerted effort and there needs to be actions that are visible.
Yeah.
That showcase I'm integrating.
Yes.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
And I am trying my damnedest.
Yes. Yeah. And so apologies are not about you. And the person doesn't owe you anything after you apologize. So that's really important. Notice where there may be a place within you that expected that person to now be like, oh, it's okay. You know, or to try to take away any of your pain. You know?
And you know what? I find, and I don't know if this is just as a white woman.
Yeah.
I find it's hard to not say it's okay.
Yes.
When somebody apologizes.
100%.
It is so uncomfortable
because
for me
we don't
to stop
Mhm.
saying it.
Mhm.
I'm like, I have to sometimes physically
Oh my God.
bite my tongue or bite my lip or bite my knuckle.
I've had a whole thing about this because I remember someone close to my life let me down in an insignificant but significant way. It was enough to feel like, oh, that didn't feel good.
Yeah, that hurt.
And I was brave enough in that particular second of time to say that to the person, like, hey, what you did kind of hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Which that's brave, people. It is so brave when we can just be honest that somebody hurt our feelings instead of like trying to justify why we shouldn't say anything, you know? So anyway, so I said to this person, like I said, hey, you know, you hurt my feelings. And that person's like, wow, you're right. I'm really sorry. And it was a beautiful apology. They were like, I'm really sorry. And then I immediately go, but you know what? It's okay. Because like I could have done other things and I could have made it. And I kind of set you up. And that person, I keep sharing this story because it was just so brilliant.
I feel
that
like it shows almost the uncomfortability of being centered.
Yes. And so then that person.
When it actually matters,
Yes,
right? When it actually matters.
The irony.
Come on, white women.
The irony. That person said to me, Thais, let me be in this discomfort of having harmed you. You don't have to take away my discomfort.
Oh.
I'm a big person.
Yeah.
I can handle my discomfort.
Yeah.
And I was like, mind blown. Because then I really was forced to look at the fact that I want apologies. I want people who harmed me to apologize. And yet I then take away the potency of their apology when I try to take away their discomfort.
What a powerful experience.
It was. And now the work is, okay, just like what you're doing, to like really bite back.
Oh my gosh.
To like not say it's okay right away.
And it happens all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
To instead be like, you can say thank you, you know?
Yeah.
You can say, I
really appreciate your apology.
I appreciate. If you do, don't say it if you don't.
Exactly.
But if you do appreciate it.
Or just thank you for apologizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
You don't owe that person anything after they apologize to you.
All you can.
And Black women, people of color do not owe us shit after we apologize. They do not owe us anything. I think that's so hard for us because we immediately want to be put back into the good woman category. And again, that's why we have to be questioning, why are you apologizing? Are you apologizing from a deep place of wanting to do better or because you want to continue to be the good white woman?
Mm-hmm. Are your actions coming from your wound?
Yeah. Your computer keeps locking me out. So
I
if
know.
you could just,
I have it set up
I should just
where
cut off your
like,
finger so I
like,
can.
I know my little.
Oh my gosh, it's an hour and a half, so I think
All
we're
right.
complete now.
Okay, I think we're complete.
This has been a long, powerful episode.
That's good.
Thank you all for joining us for the past 5 episodes of You're Waking Up to Your White Privilege Now
What?
Lindsey and I are cooking up another series that will be coming to you.
So fun.
in
Well, I
the
mean,
new
we
year.
think it's going to be fun. So
I mean,
hopefully-
we're going to have a good time doing it.
So hopefully you all will join us
Yes.
for the adventure and continue to enjoy it.
And I'm
join us.
always
for the adventure.
continually grateful for Lindsey Rae for
Oh, I'm
being
still
a
waiting
guest.
I'm still waiting on my $1 a month from Patreon, folks. Still waiting. I think everybody should IG message.
IG message?
Yeah, right? Isn't that what the kids are saying these days?
I don't think the kids are calling it IG message.
No, IG direct message.
A DM?
Slide into your DMs.
Yeah, there we go.
You should slide into Tace's
Oh,
DMs.
Please don't.
And tell her that Lindsey should get $1 a month.
Please don't.
Or at least buy me a chai latte a month.
I feel like I do that
This is
somehow. In
payment.
some way. Okay, you know what? Fair.
Payment.
Fair. I hear the feedback. I apologize. I will do better.
Appreciate your apology.
Yeah.
We're hysterical.
We are pretty funny. But I do appreciate you. I mean, your wisdom is always very appreciated. I know people that listen, the one person that listens to the podcast.
I know, because I'm still convinced it's like 1 or 2.
They really appreciate you. I'm speaking for them. I'm stripping them of their sovereignty and speaking on their behalf.
Well, I appreciate you as well,
Yeah.
and all of the beautiful humans that listen in.
So go back if you're going back home for Halloween. If you're going back home for Thanksgiving, progressive or not progressive people in your family, this is your opportunity too.
I've been having a hard time with this whole Thanksgiving thing. Everybody in my class on Thursday was like, bye, happy Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, have a happy Thanksgiving.
We need to have a whole other
And I was
episode on...
have a great 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
I literally was like, have a great 2 weeks off.
There is somebody I think everybody should follow. I think you probably already do. It's Little Native Boy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's Lil, Lil Native Boy. His name's Alan. Actually, I don't know if he identifies as a he, so I'm just gonna say
Their name is Alan.
their name is Alan.
I actually started following them through Channy. Nichols.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's probably
and so Alan does a lot of really amazing advocacy work on their Instagram.
Yeah.
So specifically around indigenous
folks.
Yeah.
And it's great.
And it's really important that we're understanding the root of Thanksgiving as a colonizer holiday. It's a completely whitewashed holiday. First off, Thanksgiving wasn't a thing until like 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Took a hold of it. And
I think it was like FDR.
Let's sell turkeys.
I feel like it was FDR that decided to make it. I don't know.
Lord,
it was some white president.
I literally have no idea.
It was a recent phenomenon, but anyway, the story is just completely wrong. It's fucked. It's a way to whitewash our problematic history.
And look, here, at the end of the day, it's like we're doing some great things. Like in California, we have officially there is no more Christopher Columbus Day. It is now Indigenous Peoples Day.
We removed Christopher Columbus statue
Yes.
and that was organized by
Indigenous people.
Yes.
Which is amazing and wonderful and great. However, let's continue. Let's not just keep patting ourselves on the back and then not doing anything else. No, Thanksgiving falls underneath that.
Thanksgiving is a really hard holiday.
Threshold,
it's a really hard one because while we don't want to say don't enjoy it, it's beautiful time with family.
Right.
There's abundance of food.
But let's not forget that our freaking kids in school dress up like cowboys and Indians and pilgrims and Indians.
Yes.
Come on.
Let's be more cognizant and aware of how Thanksgiving is a deeply, deeply problematic. I don't want to just say problematic. It's a colonizer holiday.
Yes.
It's
painful.
It's painful. It causes a lot of harm for Indigenous peoples in our country, including Canada, because Canada also has a Thanksgiving, and theirs are also so fucked.
In October or something, I think. And
so do your research, people.
Absolutely.
Go research why Thanksgiving is so harmful. Do that work so you are better informed.
And let's remember on the day that we here in the United States call Thanksgiving Day. And as we sit down, with our families and we talk about how grateful we are, let's not forget whose land we're standing on.
Yes. So one of the rituals that I have that I started last year is the first thing we do is we bless the food, because the food in of itself, there's a lot of problems with turkey and the way that we raise the turkey and the blah, 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 blah.
Absolutely.
And then we take a moment to ground our feet and really honor the stolen lands that we're currently living on.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And so there's an app that Lindsey and I have shared before.
Such a great app. Again, another token that I found from Chani Nichols.
Yeah, Chani is amazing.
She's great.
It's called Native Land, and it tells you what land you are on. So in Los Angeles, it's the Tongva people.
So literally, the app works from your GPS. So everyone that's listening, download it. Like this is like your action step right now in this moment. Download the app.
Yeah.
It works anywhere.
Yeah.
Find out, it literally, you can click on it. It'll tell you exactly what land you're on. It will direct you to that website.
Yeah.
And do your research. Take a moment to educate yourself on whose land you are standing on, and then just hold that.
Yeah.
Hold that as you move into Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And maybe
learn some of the history.
Yeah.
Learn a little bit about
maybe donate
how the colonizers took over the land. Like, get uncomfortable
in the specific area.
In what's really happened. Like, this really happened. So
Absolutely.
Get comfortable with it. Know it, understand it. Bring it up at your table, like at your Thanksgiving table. If you have a thing where you go around and share everything you're grateful for, share.
I wish I didn't have to be grateful for, the house that I'm in that's on someone else's land.
Right. And this is the history of how that happened.
Yeah.
The United States has broke like over 500 treaties, that we've made with indigenous peoples at some time or another.
No, fuck that. How about the treaties that were like not even signed?
Yes.
And that were like forged.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't. No, I'm gonna
deep breaths.
I'm gonna blow my lid.
Deep breaths.
I'm gonna blow my lid.
So we have a responsibility here. So there's two things that's happening this Thanksgiving.
Yes.
One, we're gonna really understand what we want to do, our role, responsibility, not understand, but actually take action on how to make sure that we're having conversations about white supremacy, calling out microaggression, calling out racist jokes, making sure that that's not happening in your presence, and calling people in and doing the work of holding them and not dropping them, but at the same time, holding them to the fire. Like, we can all do better. Nobody needs to be coddled. We're all big people. We can handle big things, right?
Yep.
That's number one. And then number two is like understand the lineage, the story, the history, the atrocities that happened the reason why we're celebrating this holiday is because of whitewashing this atrocious event, of a series of events that happened. Learn about it.
And it's something that I think that I'm going to do, because I usually host Christmas dinner at my house for like friends and stuff that aren't going away.
Yeah.
And I think this year, if I do it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it be a potluck, but I'm going to have it so that everyone has to bring a traditional dish from their own lineage.
I love it.
Because what it will do is it forces people to kind of like do some research and connect to their lineage. And look, a lot of my friends are white, so like, and then also what it does is it brings us all to the table, and then we share the history that we've learned from this dish, from our lineage, and then we share it with others, and then it's more knowledge that we spread.
I think it's a beautiful
idea. So if you have time before Thanksgiving, and if your Thanksgiving is more like a potluck, or it's like more like a quote unquote Friendsgiving or something, maybe that's something that that's a great idea that you can add to, to just infuse some more of like this very important lineage work, I think.
I think that's great. All right, let's wrap up. Thank you all for tuning in to, how many hours you think we've been? 7 hours? Like 5 parts of each are like over an hour long.
Yeah, well, gosh, wasn't the first one like an hour and 45 minutes?
I think there's like a 2-hour one. Lord, so like 10 hours of listening to me and Lindsey, in Lindsey's closet. Thank you for joining us. If this has touched you in any way, please consider leaving a review on iTunes. It helps with the algorithms. It's annoying, I know, and iTunes is awful and it never leaves a comment.
Rate, subscribe.
Yeah, that thing matters.
Yeah.
It matters.
Absolutely.
And if this, if you leave anything of this episode, it's that we need to do better. So let's start doing that right now instead of waiting at some time in the future. Apologize better so that we can do the right reparations, so that we can start to dismantle these fucking systems.
Let's make our new...
Not start, continue to.
Let's make our new morning affirmation. I commit to do better.
I commit to do better.
In white women's spiritual language.
Oh boy.
Let's true form.
Let's go.
Woo!